Hey guys, welcome back to another great game of CEDH. Well, 2 games to be totally correct. I was fortunate to grab some great games with my brand new list using cards from New Capenna, and oh boy do I think this set is sweet. But if you want to see more New Capenna, check out next week's game, as we'll bring you another gameplay featuring all new commanders from the set. Also, if you want to support the channel, come check out our Patreon, as it's the best way to support the channel and help us produce the content you enjoy. Also, if you're interested in playing with us, hop on our Discord. We have an ever-growing community and we'll love to talk MTG or whatever strikes our fancy. And another benefit is we often let people know when we play and would love to meet some new people. Alright, block there, kill that. That is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. First up is Alex, an NYC drummer extraordinaire, and I'll have his YouTube channel linked down below. But today he's playing Tymna Kraum. This is Blue Farm, and its goal is to be the fastest deck at the table. It's a Turbo Nas deck that aims to use Dockside Flickers along with Underworld Breach for some explosive early game wins, while relying on his commanders to really grind out the late game advantage. Next up is Cedh of Fables. They are both a D&D and MTG content creator, and as always, I'll have their link to their page down below. Cedh is actually piloting their Korvold Killer of Dockside list that was drafted for the MLC, or Major League Commander. And while Korvold used to be a food chain deck, this version is all about Dockside, and not just casting him, but sacking and reanimating him. And what better way than by feeding him to a dragon? This is another Turbo Nas list that is fast and can end games quickly, even without the Nas list, by just casting Korvold and beating Phased. In the third spot, we have Hidden Planet, bringing the Beamtown Bullies. This new Capenna commander is a very unique style of reanimator, as his goal is to reanimate quote-unquote bad creatures, but not to his side, but to give him to his opponents. So who couldn't be grateful when they get a free leveler on their upkeep? And when he's not reanimating, he has all the best Jund removal. And who knows, maybe even a World Gorger might just show up. And bringing up the rear, we have Engine, known as Eisenhertz on YouTube. This is another CEDH channel that gives both gameplays and deep dives into the format. And he's on his signature list, Urza Polytyrant. It's a polymorph deck that uses Urza's ability to generate a token to polymorph it into a Hullbreaker Horror, to loop cheap artifacts for infinite mana, and the ability to cast your entire deck, while utilizing Urza's ability to break parity with stax artifacts, such as Winter Orb. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. Alex starts the game off mulling to 4, and we actually have some pregame effects, not 1 but 2, as both Hidden and Engine have a Gemstone Cavern, exiling an Orborg and a Whir of Invention. Alex starts off by cracking a Bloodstained Mire for an Underground Sea. And it's a good thing, as he didn't have another land in the top of his library. He then expedites his turn, playing and cracking a Jeweled Lotus for Tymna, but passes as he finishes shuffling. Cedh has an Exotic Orchard and has a turn 1 Monkey. Hidden has a Luxury Suite as land and taps it for a Sol Ring, ending his turn with a Sylvan Library. Engine plays a Snow-Covered Island and casts a Mana Crypt. This gives him a turn 1 Urza, who on ETB gains him a Construct. Alex shocks in a Watery Grave and taps it for a Mana Vault, which is also promptly tapped for a Rhystic Study to hopefully refill his basically empty hand. He doesn't want to get hit by the monkey and leaves Tymna back for the turn.
Come on, you can get a card though. Alright.
I'm gonna hold on that.
Like he mulled to 4 for it, and now he has got 2 draw engines out on his second turn. Like,
Yeah. Cedh draws and hits the combat. They send the monkey at Hidden, who doesn't block, and while Cedh gets their treasure, Hidden exiles an Animate Dead off the top of his library.
That I will just pass the turn.
Oh, Cedh, some things you do make me so mad you can't even feed my Rhystic Study.
Hidden untaps and Sylvans. He takes 4 to keep an extra card, and unfortunately he has too much colorless mana, as he plays an Ancient Tomb as land. Luckily though, this does let him hardcast an Ox of Agonius, even having enough to pay for the Rhystic. The Ox resolves, and Hidden pitches a Bronze Bombshell, Vamp Tutor, and Abrupt Decay to draw 3 new cards. Engine is safe from his crypt, and then casts the Merchant Scroll. He pays the tax and ends up finding a Muddle the Mixture. Alex takes 1 off his vault, and then ruins Hidden's day as he casts a Dothy Voidwalker. Everyone has paid for the Rhystic, and not having another land, Alex then sends Tymna at Cedh, who has no blockers, and on his second main, he pays a life to draw. And luck is not on his side, as he doesn't find a land and passes. Cedh untaps and sends a little love tap back at Alex. Now the others have blockers. He takes the hit and exiles a Cyclonic Rift, with Cedh getting their second treasure. They pay 1 for a Dark Ritual, not paying for the Rhystic, and Alex finds the land he needed. Then, using 2 of the floating mana, they Demonic Tutor, this time paying for the Rhystic. But seeing a dockside in the future, Engine Fierce Guardianships it, and puts an end to Cedh's turn. Hidden untaps and Sylvans. Ooh, these cards are no longer as good when there's a Dothy out.
I was gonna get rid of the Dothy, but here we are.
You were gonna get a dockside.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then
I'm
get
not
rid
gonna
of
take
the
any.
Dothy.
Oh, Sage, I'm so reassured by
I
that.
get it. No, Sage was gonna
So
get the
reassured by you, Sage.
Hidden doesn't take any extra, and plays and cracks a Wooded Foothills for a Bayou. He's not sure what to do with the Dothy out, and then decides on a Master of Cruelty, as his commander doesn't do a whole lot right now. I say, luckily this is one of the bad creatures I can actually play on my side.
Yeah, I know. Hey, trigger Rhystic?
I paid for it.
Okay. Wah, wah, wah.
He does pay for the Rhystic, and then sends the Ox at Alex for 4. Engine is safe again from the crypt, and 2 mana then gets him a Grim Monolith, not paying for the Rhystic. The Monolith is tapped for mana, and along with his cavern, he casts an Imposter Mech, still not paying for the Rhystic. The mech turns into a Dothy, and he then taps his Construct and a Snow-Covered Island for a Power Artifact, still not paying for the Rhystic. Alex draws, but the table doesn't have any counter magic, and Engine then pays 2 mana to untap the Monolith. But while the table lacks counter magic, Cedh does have a Nature's Claim to destroy the Monolith and give a card to Alex. So this was a mistake on Engine's part, as he thought the Dothy could cast any spell exiled with the Void counter, and tries and crack his Dothy, who is not a creature, and does not have Summoning Sickness, or his exiled Fierce Guardianship. But because Dothy only lets you cast opponent spells, he actually can't, and unfortunately for him the Nature's Claim resolves, blowing up the Monolith and gaining him 4 life. Alex has a Tundra as land and then cracks his Dothy. Thinking he's going for the Demonic Tutor, Engine cracks his Dothy to cast the Demonic instead, to hopefully fizzle whatever Alex was hoping to do. This was actually bait, as Alex then chooses the Dark Ritual, and now is the mana to add Nas. No one has a response, and Alex begins revealing cards till he's down to 6. A Mana Crypt into a Grim Monolith into a Fellwar Stone happens, and that lets him cast the Dockside. And with Cedh cracking their treasures, Alex ends up with 4. He then cracks 2 treasures for an Underworld Breach. He then goes to 1 treasure to cast a Diabolic Intent, sacking the Dockside to grab a Lion's Eye Diamond. And with a gamble, the table then scoops it up. And the table then goes on to game 2. Cedh this time mulls the 4, and Alex switches over to Tymna Kraum. Alright, let's see this amazing turn 1 Urza plus like Mystic Remora or something like that. Engine has a Cephalid Colosseum, and along with the Jeweled Lotus does have a turn 1 Urza, although Hidden was incorrect about the Mystic Remora. Hidden has a Spire Garden, and then a Mox Diamond. He discards a Mountain, and doesn't have anything after that. Cedh has a Taiga into a Deathrite Shaman. It's another card I don't care to see.
Oh, Graveyard Hate?
Yeah.
Who is she?
Alex has an Exotic Orchard and a Mana Crypt, using it on a Wishclaw Talisman. Engine has a Mana Crypt and plays a Prismatic Vista as land. He then sends his Construct at Alex for 2, and at his end step, Hidden Worldly Tutors.
We all know what this is getting.
It was gonna be Dragon Mage, but with the death right out, it probably should be something else.
Collect roof.
Why do I have a feeling it's sitting by the dock of the bay?
1, 2,
Yeah,
3. I mean, Dockside still gets 4.
but
So-
is it really worth it at this point?
No, probably not.
The first one's okay. The second one's always better.
He ends up settling on a Dragon Mage, and still at Engine's end step, he also natures claims the Wish Claw. Hidden untaps and draws his dragon. He doesn't have a land and decides on a Cathartic Pyre to discard a World Gorger and a Dragon Mage to draw 2 cards. He does find a Verdant Catacombs, which he cracks for a Bayou, but is done after that. Cedh draws, but doesn't have a land and hands the turn over. Alex takes 3 from his crypt. He plays an Ancient Tomb as land, and then takes 2 off the tomb to cast Tevesh, who upticks to create 2 Thralls. And at his end step, Engine cracks his Vista for a snow-covered island. Engine is safe from the crypt and has another snow-covered island. Combat is then held, and his Construct and Urza go at Tevesh, with Alex chumping the Construct with the Thrall. Hidden untaps, but doesn't draw the land he needed. He then taps 2 for his own Dothy, has a backup plan. And at his end step, Cedh exiles Hidden's World Gorger Dragon with the Deathrite Shaman. Cedh does find a land as they play and crack a Wooded Foothills to go and grab a Bayou. The Bayou is tapped for a Dark Ritual, and Cedh then taps out, eating Hidden's Verdant Catacombs to cast the big bad dragon Korvold, who on ETB eats the Taiga and Cedh draws. Alex is safe from his crypt and plays a Mana Conflux as land. He upticks Tevesh to eat the Thrall for 2 more cards, and then ends his turn casting his other commander, Kraum. Engine takes 3 from his crypt. He plays another snow-covered island and casts a Gilded Drake to swap control with Alex's Kraum. A Jeweled Amulet then comes out, which is tapped for mana, and Engine then casts the Merchant Scroll. Dothy Zone.
Dothy.
Yep, Dothy Zone. That's right.
Granted, I don't think I could use a blue instant right now, so...
Yeah.
He ends up finding a War of Invention and decides to not swing the Hasty Kraum at Tevesh. Hidden untaps and finds a swamp off the top. He then casts the Beamtown Bullies.
What
Wild.
creature you have in your graveyard right now?
The only
Dragon
creature I
Mage.
have is a Dragon Mage, which unfortunately isn't super relevant because Tevesh Zot can sacrifice it and so can Korvold.
Sure.
Oh no, we want a fresh hand of cards. We'll send that dragon somewhere.
Yeah.
Hidden then heads to combat and sends the bully at Tevesh. There are no blocks and Tevesh drops to 2. Cedh untaps and during their upkeep, Worldly Tutors.
You know him, you love him. It's everyone's favorite goblin.
Daka Waka.
Cedh draws it for turn and then exiles an Elvish Spirit Guide to help cast the Tutor Dockside. This is their second spell and triggers Kraum to let Engine draw. And in response, Engine then casts a March of Swirling Mist, where X equals 2 to phase out the Dothy and Korvold. The Dockside then resolves and Cedh gains 5 treasures, and then heads to combat. So before attackers are declared, Hidden makes a deal with Cedh to give them the Dragon Mage, thinking that Alex wouldn't block, as he said he wanted a new hand earlier. The Dragon Mage enters and gains haste and is goaded. But Alex apparently does not want a new hand, as he promptly blocks the mage with his Gilded Drake, and both Cedh and Hidden are sad. Alex is safe from his crypt, and then for 5 casts an Adnaz. Unfortunately, it resolves, and he begins revealing cards until he drops to 7. A Badland then comes out, and along with his Floating Colorless, he casts a Dockside. This does give a card to Engine, but the Goblin resolves, and gains him 8 treasures. A treasure is then used on a Dark Ritual, which goes into a Cabal Ritual. And then a Diabolic Intent comes out, sacking the Dockside. It's going to get Breach, and with a gamble in hand, the table scoops it up again. And before I get into the game review, I want to thank our Patreon subscribers. game review. Man, I honestly forgot how powerful an ad nos can really be. Props to Alex, as both times he was able to sneak the nos at just the right time to fade any interaction. So one thing that wasn't caught on camera was Hidden actually had a few different options that he didn't realize he could have gone for. In the first game, he could have kept an Entomb from the Sylvan, and when the Dothies were gone, he could have cast his Commander instead of the Master of Cruelty, and Entombed for a Leveler to stop Alex from going off with the ad nos. And in the second, Hidden knew Cedh wanted a new hand, so in response to the March, Hidden could have cracked his Dothi for the Exiled Dark Ritual, and used a removal spell on the Gilded Drake. Granted, he didn't know Alex would block, but Hidden was going to discard the removal spell anyways. But man, I did not expect Alex to get the win off a mold of 4. And I guess it goes to show that people take your mulligans.
Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you know that we have a TCG affiliate link. And if you ever see a card you want to try or are inspired to brew something new, use our link when purchasing and we'll receive a small portion of the sale. This is a great way to support the channel, and if you enjoyed the gameplay, please leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps us keep making videos. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.